This is the Power of OZmosis podcast, powered by the Vidwheel Creator Network. Hi everyone, this is the Power of OZmosis video podcast, powered by Vidwheel Creator Network. Today we are at the ever beautiful Trek, a co-working incubator in the heart of Niagara Falls, New York. I am joined today by a great friend, someone I'd consider a mentee, but I also learn a lot from him. So it's really mentee-mentor. Chad Williams, dooProcess. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you, man. Good to be here. There's a lot of cool things happening in Niagara Falls and in Buffalo. And I'd like to think that I'm a part of it. I know certainly you are with what you're doing in your world of social justice and streetwear and entrepreneurship. So let's dial in a conversation today. It's going to be flavored in the how to turn a trauma of sorts into a triumph, right? So something that's negative into a positive. That's what we'll be talking about here today. And of course, laden with passion and that entrepreneurial spirit, community, giving back, doing the right thing, serving others. That's what we're dialing in on. So let's do this thing, man. So Chad, let's talk to our millions of watchers and listeners. Yes. Like I say in every podcast, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone and who you are?
So my name is Chad Williams. I'm from Brooklyn, New York originally. I came up to Buffalo State in 2016 for college. Well, yeah, I said Buffalo State for college.
Let's go. Buffalo State.
I majored in economics. I recently graduated in 2020 in the COVID era. So we didn't really get a graduation, but we got our diplomas. So there's that. I'm the current project manager at Launch New York, a nonprofit venture capitalist firm.
Shout out to Marnie.
Shout out to Marnie.
She's great.
Shout out to Marnie. Shout out to everybody at Launch New York, the whole team. And I'm the founder of dooProcess. So
let's talk more about that then. So again, entrepreneurial by spirit. I also would like to just sidebar and say a shout out. We're doing shout outs. Mm-hmm. So shout out to University of Buffalo, to Blackstone Launchpad, to my good friends Hadar Borden and Alex Pell-Cleary for getting me involved last year through my friend Jess Edwards in having the chance to get to know you and connect with you. It was this thing called Student to Biz competition where students basically pitch their businesses, most of which were actually businesses. Maybe not most, but yours was. You had it dialed in.
Thank you.
And your story resonated the most with me. And so I remember intentionally going out, and Hadar and Alex, if there's any way I can stay in touch with Chad post-competition, I'd love to do that. And so here we are, April 2020, July 2021. It's kind of cool to see. So shout out there. Let's talk more about dooProcess, though. Why don't we go back to the beginning? Yeah. That story that you've told. Now I know you're doing your press tour. And I'm sorry, one more thing. Mr. Forbes 1000 over here. Just dialed in and making moves, man. And honestly, it's inspiring to see when you told me that. So I know I'm talking a lot, but I want to hear more from you on obviously this recent accolade. But let's, like I said, go back to the beginning.
All right, cool. So it started when I was a junior in college on a rainy Saturday night. So I was at the club with some friends, and one of my friends, she got drunk and she threw up. So the bouncer had said she had to leave. So we called her Uber, and we are gonna take her outside so she could go home in Uber. So we all go outside, but it's like I said, it was a Saturday night, so it was like a bunch of people outside. It was real jam packed. And then, so we couldn't find the Uber initially. So we were all looking for it. We all split up, started looking for the Uber. I finally find it. I'm taking my friend over to it. And then I'm trying to put it in the car, and the Uber driver, he's just yelling from the driver's side. He's like, no. So like in my head, I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? I'm trying to talk to him. I'm trying to say, this is her Uber. She needs to get in. He's still saying, no. So I go over to the side of the car, and I see he's like bleeding on the whole left side of his face. So like in my head, I'm like, oh, wow. It's not good. Yeah. So before I could even do anything, two officers come from behind me, like, excuse me, sir, step away from the car. I'm like, this is her Uber. I was trying to put her in the Uber, like, step away from the car. So then I just back up. And then they asked the Uber driver, they're like, are you the one who called in the assault? He's like, yeah. He's like, who did it? He's like, he pointed at me. I was just shocked at the time. I'm like, I'm trying to tell him, no. Ask him again. Because they try to grab my arm, and I try to pull back at first. They're like, don't resist. So then I just comply with them. I'm like, ask him again. I don't have any blood on me. I didn't touch this guy. Whatever. And then they didn't ask him again. They just threw me in the back of the thing, and then that was that. But yeah, so like that's another
back
reason.
of the police vehicle.
Back of the police vehicle, yeah. So handcuffs behind my back. My friends, they looking at me, they screaming to the police officers and whatnot. But yeah, so like another reason, that's why I call it brand due process, fair treatment through the judicial system, because I feel like I didn't get any due process, because they didn't ask the guy, they didn't do like their diligence, like they just arrested me, they didn't see any blood on me or anything like that. They just took the guy's word for it. So I'm in jail now. So I'm in jail, and then I've never been in this position before either. So like it was very
and
cold
you were
in there.
What are you, 18, 19? You were 19, 20?
Probably 19, 20, yeah. Probably 19, 20. Junior in college, doing everything I thought I was supposed to be doing.
Sure.
So I'm in jail now. I get out in the morning to go see the judge. So we go see the judge, and she looked at me like she hated me. She was talking at me like she hated me, like I did something to her or something like that. Like it was just like a horrible thing, me being an innocent person, and she's just thinking I'm this horrible human being. So she lets me out because I'm a college student and like have classes to go to, but she assigns me a court date to come back in like 2 to 3 weeks. So, and then she also gives me a public defender because I couldn't afford a lawyer.
Student.
Or I didn't even want to pay for a lawyer, even if I had the funds, because I thought it would be like such an easy case to beat, because it's like it was downtown Buffalo where it happened on Chippewa.
Right.
So I'm thinking there's like a bunch of different cameras and whatnot to like prove my innocence.
Right.
And there was, but this public defender, I won't say his name.
Yeah.
I won't say his name.
Protect the guilty.
Yeah. Public defender, like he didn't answer my phone call for like every time I would call him. He answered the day before with the court date, and I went into his office and I told him everything that happened. I was like, yeah, but what you got to do really is just go get the cameras, and then my name will be proven innocence.
Right.
Innocence, yeah. But he's like, yeah. So we go to court, ask him if he got the footage. He's like, no. He doesn't give me any reasoning behind it. He just says no. So like I'm in my head, I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? Everybody hates me. First the judge, first the police, then the judge. Now the public defender. Like, what's going on? So I go throughout this for like almost a year, where the public defender, he's not responding. It's hard to get in contact with them, going back and forth to court. And this happened like during like the middle of my junior year, towards like the end of the summer. So like I was in Brooklyn at the time, and I'd have to come back up to Buffalo for like different court dates. Like take a bus that same day, get on the bus back to Brooklyn that same day, and it's like a 6-hour trip. So I had to do that. And it was just real hard. Money. Yeah, time and money is a bunch of stuff going on, a lot of stress. Like my uncle had died in that time. Like the day before his funeral, I had to go up to court, and I had to come back down. It was just a whole bunch of stuff going on. Yeah, at the end, my name was proven innocence. Thank God. So my name was proven innocence, and that's when I started dooProcess. And I spell it DO process, a spin-off of the legal term, which refers to fair treatment through the judicial system. Yeah, so that's like the story of.
So we talked about this unfair treatment, the stress. I mean, like I said at the beginning, there's trauma here. I mean, this is a stressful especially for a young man in his formative years. Let's talk more about dooProcess. So that's how dooProcess was born.
I think we should talk about first.
What are we hitting?
How we met each other.
All right. All right. Let's talk about that then. So Chad just said here that I think that's cool to talk about not just the genesis of dooProcess, but you talked about the story, the stress, the dissonance that you felt. But we'll hit that in a second. So how we met, and I'm gonna let you take it because I said it earlier and I shouted out the group. So why don't you recount what you remember?
Yeah, this is definitely like a boost to why dooProcess is like where it's at today, and then like a mile. So
my head's already big enough, brother. Come on, appreciate that.
100%. Yeah, of course. So we met. I joined the business plan competition because it was my senior year in college, and I wanted to do independent study with one of my favorite professors ever, Professor Eugene Chaz.
Shout out.
Shout out to him, of the economics department. So I told him about my business dooProcess, and then he told me about the business plan competition. So he's like, so this is what we're going to do for the independent study. You're going to work on the business plan competition, and you're going to win it.
Let's go.
Yeah. Now, he actually said I made it up, but.
Wow. He probably, maybe he meant it.
He meant that. Yeah. That's
his energy.
That's like the type of vibe he was giving off of it.
You got this.
Yeah, 100%. Like, so I would go to the Small Business Development Center of Buffalo State College with another favorite person of mine, Karina Laura.
Karina.
And she's the one who like really coached me throughout like the business plan competition. She helped me with my pitch. She helped me understanding what a pitch was and everything like that because I didn't really have a background of it. So she really got me through it 100%.
She enlightened you and empowered you. So major kudos to, you said it was Karina?
Karina Laura.
Karina,
yeah.
Big time.
Yeah,
cool.
Definitely. So during the business plan competition, at first it was supposed to be in person, you know, like we do the regional competition first. And then once you pass on to the regional competition, the top 2 from the category, I was in the consumer and products category.
That's right.
So the top 2 from each category, they didn't go to Albany.
Right.
But then COVID hit.
Right.
So then everything transitioned into like an online thing. So everything was now online. So we had to do like a video submission. We had to do a video submission. And for my first video, it was like my first time doing it. And stuff like that, but it wasn't the best of all things.
I wouldn't have been able to tell. It looked like you've been doing it for a while. I'm just serious. I mean, it was great.
No.
You had your
that
voice.
Was the second one. That was the second one. That was the second one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
The first one, it was like I was like really, it wasn't up to par, I would say.
Sure.
So it got me second place in the student to biz competition, and that's where I met my man over here, Johnny.
Let's go.
Yes, sir. That's where I met Johnny. So Johnny connected with me. He's a great mentor then and still now, and a friend.
Appreciate
also.
that, man. Thank you.
So that's where I met Johnny, and then he would like just give me different tips and stuff like that, like what I should do, what I shouldn't be doing, and stuff like that. So it was awesome. So back to the competition. All right, so I got second place in my category.
Yeah.
Any insight on that?
Sorry, I second because I was a judge. Hey man, I had you as one, brother.
Right,
now that it's
cool,
you know I had you as one.
Yeah.
You were dialed in. So, but you got second out
second.
Of like a pretty good pool of companies from what I remember. And then did you move on? Like, was there a move on then? Did you go to another stage or whatever? Right?
Yeah. So I got in second place, and then we moved on to the state competition. This is the first. It was the regionals. You have to get out the regionals. The top 2. I got second, and then we moved on to the state competition. Yeah. So I was an athlete in high school. I wrestled.
I could tell, man. You and your buddy Brian. Shout out to Brian off camera. The transportation. Let's go. You guys are dialed in.
100%. Yeah. So I was an athlete in high school, and like the second place didn't really sit well with me because like my senior year in high school, I was a wrestler, and I had got injured, and I was like predicted to go to states that year, and I couldn't go to states because I got injured. So this was like my redemption phase of it. So I got to the state competition. I was like, I have to make this video 100,000 times better to beat the competition now. Yeah, to beat the competition now. So I learned how to use a program called like Sparkle or like Video Scribe. And it's like this animated video tool, I guess. And then I had created my video that way. And then I ended up taking first place in the consumer products and service field, beating out the person that beat me in the regionals. So it was just
redemption.
Like, shout out to them though. Shout out to them. But it was a great feeling. 100%. It's definitely a great feeling with John coaching me the way through, definitely giving me a bunch of great tips, 100%.
That's very kind. I'm going to send you a Venmo of 10 $20 for all the kind words like we talked about. No, I mean,
honestly.
Here's part of, let's unpack that, and then I want to make sure we highlight like really the ethos of dooProcess, really what it's about, because we've covered a lot of good stuff. And I also want to like start going to the how-to stuff, because I really want to ask you some questions and get some insight for me, but also for these listeners and watchers as to how you went from this terrible situation to such, greatness. Again, Mr. Forbes 1000 over here. But we'll hit on that. But for me, you see a young man like Chad, you see his story. There's instant kind of visceral desire for me, and I'm sure many others that wanted to reach out. Another Naja Bolden, who I know I connected you guys.
You got to go bike riding, Naja.
Naja, let's go. And I'm sure he'll watch this. We'll send it to him. Naja, it's funny because then Naja and I met, just sidebar, again, just University of Buffalo, Blackstone, the New York State Business Planning Competition, NYBPC. Yeah, I met Naja Bolden, Phoenix Innovation Group. As a judge, we were fellow judges, man. I mean, every time I'm involved in these competitions, you just meet great people, and then you want to stay in touch. Like the magnetism of the friendship, the relationship, the energy, and the ability then to collaborate, like us. More shout outs. Let's keep that going. Valentino Dixon.
Shout out.
Got a huge shout out. You're fine. Shout out to Valentino. I mean, 27-year exoneree prison. Incredible story. One of the best artists in the world. With coloring pencils. We had a chance to connect. Me, and then some of his squad, a couple of people from my side back in May. I mean, and so it's like, I hate to say it, but it's like real, recognize real. It's colloquial, but it's real, recognize real. And so I see this young man, I'm talking to my audience now, doing what he's doing at such a young, tender age, really looking to make impact. I mean, how could I not want to is the better question. So again, a shout out to so many different people, part of this process of Chad and I connecting, getting to know each other. And then, yeah, sure, you want to give me a lot of credit, but hey, I could tell you what to do. You went and did it. And it wasn't just me. I'm sure there are countless others, like you mentioned earlier. So, but that's the beauty of it. So that said, more about dooProcess, right? So you start the streetwear. I think you call it Streetwear with Soul, right?
Yeah,
let's go. So social justice focused, more detail on dooProcess, how it works, where you can buy it, where you can find it. We'd love to hear that.
So what we do with dooProcess is we try to create aesthetically pleasing clothing that also advocate for social justice. So like the shirt that John's wearing, that was
originals, right? OG,
first one.
Let's go. I gave my other one, another guy, Chef Bobby Anderson, out of Niagara Falls. I gave him the one that's black. So yeah, so continue. I'm sorry.
So that is an OG shirt.
Let's go. I gotta get one of those.
To the millions of you watching,
millions.
It might come back out.
Law of attraction. Keep an eye out for that drop. All right.
Yeah, it might come. All right. So yeah, we try to make aesthetically pleasing clothing that also have like a social justice meaning to it. So that design, it's like dopey. Most people would see that shirt, they think like, oh, he smokes a lot of weed, dope. Something like that. It's something like that. So like, a huge reason behind the shirt was like to not judge people. Just because it says dopey doesn't mean like he's a crack addict, a weed addict, or anything like that. Do your process, basically, right?
Done deal.
Do your process.
That's so it's so intentional.
Exactly.
It's memorable.
100%.
And it's the right thing.
Yes.
Service to others.
100%.
How can we serve others? And so there's a service component to what you're saying. I should also say, what was I going to say now? I hit something else in terms of like the clothing, but let's go back and let's keep going with what you're doing and like how it's set up, like how you donate and stuff.
Yeah. So like the mission behind it is with every shirt we sell, we donate 50% of the proceeds to like different organizations that advocate for social justice. So like with this collection right here, it's a portrayal of like Trayvon Martin, and it says like dooProcess, and like we wanted to donate it to the Trayvon Martin Foundation, but we actually didn't end up hearing back from them on the outreach. So the two organizations that we are donating to is one local, the Western New York Peace Center, which they do great work in the whole of Western New York, and then also Last Prisoner Project, which they advocate for like marijuana reform.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's
that was
amazing. Like 22, 23 years old, a perfect living example. If you're good enough, you're old enough.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You know, and that's true. And I do remember now. You said Trayvon Martin. George Floyd, you whipped up something pretty cool, a cool project there that I think the audience would enjoy hearing about.
Oh yeah, so like in memory of George Floyd, after his death, bunch of protests, bunch of gatherings, everything like that, and like at those gatherings, a bunch of people, they were getting hurt by law enforcement officers. So like, despite it, I decided to create a shirt that stated like the Minneapolis Police Department use of force regulations on the back of it. So like, for instance, one of those rules would be if you see an officer doing wrong, it's your duty to intervene and stop that officer. And in the case of George Floyd, they didn't do that at all. So like, I created these shirts with like the officers' rules that they swore to, and then I was giving them out for free at protests. Like,
that's amazing.
In case like a protester was at a rally or protest, they would have like the rules on the back of their shirt, and like the officers, if they were to arrest them, they would see the rules on the back of their shirt and then hopefully abide by them. And that was like really the thought behind it.
It's so intentional, and it's human focused, right? It's like we're all in this together, man. We all put our pants on the same way, and we all have struggles, we all have pain, and what can we do to shed more light on goodness and wanting to do the right thing and serving others? And so you're a living example and testament dooProcess too, to that ethos, to that mindset. I wanted to also make sure we hit on where can we find you on social, you, the company, the Forbes 1000 article that came out, your profile. Where can we find those things? I'll put them in the show notes as always.
Cool.
The links.
Excuse me. So I'm on Instagram at dooProcess, dooProcess. Facebook, same thing, dooProcess. I'm on LinkedIn at Chad Williams. And then, those are the main. Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's in the store.
www.dooProcess.org. Yeah, so that's like the website where we have everything. I have like all of my related articles or related links. That's on there on the media section of the website. So, yeah, I'll definitely say check out the website. We have a sale going on right now for the Forbes 1000. With the code Forbes 1000, you get a 10% off.
Let's go.
Yeah. And Yeah.
So I want to, okay, so one more thing too, we talked George Floyd. I know we're zigging and zagging a little, and then I want to get to the Forbes 1000, and then I want to get to the how-to stuff as a finish, as a kind of summation of our talk. But George Floyd, who did you get to meet and his family?
How can I forget? I got to meet Terrence Floyd. That's George Floyd's brother, and I got to meet him because I got like a news interview about the shirts that I did, and then he had reached out to me on Facebook. And then crazy thing was he lives in Brooklyn, so I was able to meet up with him.
I remember you sent me pictures. I was like, oh my god, texting me last year.
So I was really good. I got to meet him, and we still keep in contact to this day. I just spoke to him probably yesterday.
That's amazing.
No, yeah, it's crazy. So like, he's a great guy too. He's doing great stuff with his organization, We Are Floyd. You can check them out on Instagram. They're doing great stuff to keep his brother's name alive. And then he's just an overall great being.
He is, and I just got to say this, and it's the truth. My phrase is the truth can hurt, but the truth always wins. And so, the truth here is that I wish we weren't even talking about this, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what we're working towards, to not have to talk about this. Exactly. So the fact that we're, it's not that it's excited. It's a cool moment, all in the name of doing the right thing and serving others. Mm-hmm. But I wish, and I think you do, and Brian and anyone else wishes just we weren't even having it.
I know, but
you know what I mean.
But for right now, we do have to.
Oh, I'm with. Listen,
keep it up, keep the name alive.
Oh no.
Everything, I know.
I'm with you. I'm saying like in a perfect world,
we don't have,
which we're not going to ever have. But it's in memorial and memory of what's happened, and just that I wish it never did happen. None of this shit stuff. I don't usually swear, but I'm not going to mark. I'm not marking.
It's an emotional moment.
I'm not marking the explicit box. All right, YouTube. You're not going to rank me. I said one expletive. So that said, let's talk about how you did it, man. What was, I know probably in the moment you weren't like, I've gone through a version of transformation physically, mentally, with certain things, professionally. In the moment when I first started, I didn't really know, right? You just like, I need to do better. I need to do something different, whatever. Let's walk the audience through, as best to your ability, what it was like, and to have this happen to you, again, trauma, to then take the journey, the path to transformation, which created triumph. And here you are, Mr. Forbes. I can't stop saying it because it's such a cool thing to be sitting here with you today, and how awesome and deserving that accolade is. How did you get from that trauma to tragedy, or to triumph?
Really, I never really like been like a downer. So even throughout the situation, I was trying to keep my head real high. Even though it was hard at times, I never really been like a down. I always want to look at the positive things in it, and then how I could do something to benefit somebody or benefit myself. Wow. So like, always been like an entrepreneur too, I would say. So like, I was always like, since like middle school, high school, I was like selling candy or Gatorades or something like that in the hallways. So like, that's awesome. And then I found this way, like I could do better than just like regular streetwear clothing. I could do streetwear with soul. That's why I call it like streetwear with soul. With the giving back proceeds to different organizations that advocate for social justice, and then eventually turning it into like the dooProcess law firm, where we have like different lawyers, and then they go out and they fight cases of wrongfully arrested individuals
in place of public defenders.
In place of public defenders, because of
proper representation.
Yeah, exactly. Because of my situation that happened with my public defender, I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody else. Because still to this day, these people are wrongfully convicted and they're sitting in jail, rotting in jail right now.
Valentino Dixon.
I was just about to
27 years.
Exactly, 27 years. Thank God he got out after 27 years, but there's still people in there right now, and then it's just not right. It's not morally right. It's not right at all. So I thought dooProcess would be like a great way to help solve that, and then it appeals to like my target audience as well too. People that love streetwear, they love fashion, but also have like a social justice side to them.
Yeah, like the double bottom line, triple bottom line, right? It's not just a product that then creates profit. You take some of that profit and you donate it so that you can close the gap in a way, do the best you can to then give back, so that these organizations you're working with continue their mission. Your mission is what you just said, with the dooProcess law firm, and I love that. I remember you said that to me in a text. We talked about it maybe months ago, and I was like, it reminded me of the EJIA, I believe. Brian Stevenson? He was in that movie Just Mercy. Michael B. Jordan played him. Yeah. He started I believe it's the Equal Justice Initiative. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just EJI. Yeah.
Oh, it's EJI. I'm sorry. I don't know where the A comes from. So that is a similar ethos to what you're doing, and that is fantastic. The world needs a lot more of that.
Thank you. And then also, like, I like the design. Like, I feel like they're cool designs. So personally, I feel like they're cool designs. So like when you walk in the street, somebody asks you, "Oh, what's that?" They're spread along the mission and stuff like that, and then the name gets out there more in the mission as well. So
good for you, man.
Thank you.
It's impact. It's impact while we're here, and then many, many years from now when we're not here, legacy, right? So it's how can we create impact now so that 70, 80, 90 years away from now, you're gone. What are people saying about you? Right? What are people going to say about you after you've had your time on this earth? Right? You know, Chad was a fine young man, or at that point you'd be an older man, but Chad was a man of true like empathy and community and doing the right thing and justice. And that's how I try to live my life. And I can tell you do too, is that what are the three? Les Brown, shout out to Les Brown. He's a very well-known motivational speaker. He's been around for decades. He says, live your life with a thought of, what are the 3 words people will say about you at your funeral? If you live in accordance to that, you're going to live a pretty dang good life. Because I don't think many people want people at their funeral saying this guy sucked or this guy was mean or terrible or whatever. So a good thought there. So then you highlighted there that it's not right. You don't want anyone else to feel that. So it's empathy, right? So we're employing empathy, deploying empathy, and also then just keeping a good attitude, keeping a good spirit, and really not ever complaining in a sense. It's just that this happened to me and I'm not going to react because reactions is emotional. I'm going to respond. And you responded, and here we are sitting here today. I got goosebumps, man. I got goosebumps.
Not because it's cold in here.
No, it's because it's a beautiful moment, and it's cool to see someone like you just what I mean, like a young man that's already just so far along your journey of greatness, man. And that to me is one of my greatest fuel sources when I see people like you, young people just doing the right thing, people serving others. So I'm just happy to be sitting with you, brother.
Appreciate that.
I'm excited to watch you to just keep manifesting.
Appreciate that.
Manifesting. And you know what, in closing, I've danced around this. How did you find out about Forbes 1000? How'd that all go down?
Fun. Shout out.
Shout
out to Eleanor and her platform, My Local Heroes. She's the one who informed me about Forbes 1000, and the rest is history.
Let's go.
So definitely shout out to Eleanor. Appreciate everything that you do.
And it's congruent to, so Eleanor, you're a rock star. I don't know you, but I want to get to know Eleanor because it sounds like she's fantastic.
Oh, so
go ahead.
One plug for Eleanor. I saw like My Local Heroes.
My Local Heroes.
Yeah, she's located in Brooklyn. So like what she does is she finds what they call local heroes, and I was actually one of her local heroes. I think I was number 14. She finds local heroes like people that are doing good in the community, and she writes like articles about them to get their name out there. So she's doing an amazing thing out there. She's
fantastic. And that elevated you. You've already been elevating, right? You've been in the news. Shout out to Dan Miner, Buffalo Business First, 100%. But countless others. I mean, in back in your hometown and across the gamut, you've made because of the impact you're making.
Now I'm on the Johnny OZmosis podcast.
With our millions of watchers and listeners.
Millions of watchers.
I mean, it could very well happen after this episode drops in the near future because of the things you're doing, man. So, I'm excited. What maybe parting words might you have for the watchers and listeners as we wrap up here?
I would say just keep your head above the water. The sun will always be there.
That's pretty cool. Say that again.
Of it. Keep your head above the water. The sun will always be there.
You just thought of that now?
Just thought of it. I don't know how.
He's a poet and he doesn't even know it. That's really cool, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. So true to OZmosis' ethos, right? Connect, collaborate, champion. We connected. We've collaborated, and we're championing. We're championing for dooProcess. We're championing for OZmosis because 2 organizations that are trying to do the right thing and serve others. So huge shout out, and of course a gratitude over to vidwheel Creator Network for this beautiful gear setup support. Neil Carroll and team, you guys are rock stars. Thank you again as always, and my gratitude to you too, Chad, for what you're doing, man, for being here. We finally made it happen. Timing, though, remember what we said this morning? It all makes sense in the end when you look back. So I'm glad we did this, and 100%. Here's to many more.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here, Chad. Appreciate it. We'll see you on the next segment, everyone. And as always, keep going.